You're 3,000 feet above the trees in a hot air balloon. Your significant other gets down on one knee and pulls out a box containing a ring. You realize that this is the magic moment you've been looking forward to, because there's never been a better time to test drive the 2019 CLA Coupe at your authorized Mercedes-Benz dealer. With its sleek silhouette, unrivaled performance, and technology, the CLA is your dream ride. Visit MBUSA.com/CLA to learn more. Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing.
Blog Talk Radio.
Hey, folks, how you doing? It's Danny Tisdale, and you are connected to the Danny Tisdale Show. I hope you are all doing well, because I am. Excuse me, a little something there in my throat. We've got a great show today, and you know that I always say that. And why? Because we always have a great show. And more importantly, let's talk about what's going on. We're here today, and I hope you're having a great day and you've taken time out of your day to be with us today. And, before we get started, we always like to give you an update of what's going on the site and what's hot and what's not. And right at the top is Harlem's Wendy Hiller's Gymnastics Foundation event. It was 2 nights ago. We've posted photos that are great. Check them out, and, of course, donate. It's a fundraiser. Also, what's trending on the site is that there's a $9 million Harlem penthouse that has a rooftop dog walk, the works. Check it out. It's trending on the site, and, I know you're shopping sooner or later for some of those great brownstones that are in Harlem. And also, one of our content providers, BET, has reached out to us to talk about their new show called Hustle in Brooklyn. And, of course, we had to use the title, As You Hustle in Harlem. Check out BET's Hustle in Brooklyn. I hear it's a great show. It's got great photos from the event. And as you check that out, don't forget to check us out on Twitter at twitter.com/Harlem HW Mag. Also on Facebook at Facebook Harlem World Magazine. Also, don't forget to check out our website where we have everything there, and that's harlemworldmagazine.com. And you may be asking about our other platforms. Just put in Harlem World Magazine, whether it's on Pinterest, you name it, we're going to be there. Check us out and like us and comment any way you'd like to. And, just to kind of talk a little bit how we're tweaking things here, we're doing our podcast every week, podcasting them on Tuesdays at 3 o'clock, and we try to focus on the leaders, legends, and trailblazers who are in Harlem, who are doing great work across the board. And with that, one of those is Barbara Askins, who serves as president and CEO of the 125th Street Business Improvement District, also known as the BED, in Upper Manhattan, Harlem, as we know it, of course, in New York City. She's done extensive work in the field of improving cities as a public involvement specialist on transportation, environmental, and facility planning projects, working on major projects in several cities that included reconstruction of highways and city streets, upgrading rail and bus systems, improving sewage treatment facilities, on and on and on to the break of dawn. And we were on the community board together back in the day. So that's where I was first brought aware of her great work. And in 1993, she was successfully created the first and only Business Improvement District in Harlem. Under her leadership, the 125th Street has grown incredibly. Ms. Askins has received numerous proclamations, citations, and awards from community organizations. And recently, she was responsible for bringing into fruition the first cultural bonus incentive in NYC to be used to shape the future of 125th Street as a cultural destination. Really doing great work. Her efforts were realized worldwide when the American Planning Association named 125th Street as one of the 10 best streets in the country. And, of course, we know it's one of the best streets in the world. And thank you, Ms. Askins, for being here and on the show.
thank you, Danny, for inviting me. And, of course, boy, you made me sound really good with that intro.
You are.
And, well, thank you so much. But, I treasure our moments when we get a chance to be just Danny and Barbara and just talk about this, because we all have been in the struggle, and it is a struggle to grow communities and stuff. So when I hear you talk about my accomplishments, I'm like, who is that person? Do I know her? Did I do all of that?
And it's, I'm glad you brought that up because, when we talk, I think take for granted is the wrong word. It's just that, you're such a down-to-earth person that, I sometimes forget about, the great work that you do when, you're doing the, 9 to 5, which I know it's not 9 to 5, but your weekday work, shall I say, So yeah. I definitely, want to give you your props. Not that I need to, because others are doing that, but I really just want to commend you on the great work that you do, and just being a nice person that's down to earth. And we'll talk about your art a little bit later on. But I wanted to ask you, what does the 125th Street bid do?
So, well, first I'll tell you what we are. The Business Improvement District. The Business Improvement District is a tax assessment district, and it's a local law. And so the property owners pay an additional assessment above the real estate taxes to fund the programs and projects that they feel are needed in order for the area to grow. And so our boundaries are between Morningside and Fifth Avenue. And so to that end, for me particularly as a creative person, I am in a position to be able to pitch to them the things that I think are needed, to happen. And I have to say that they have been very receptive and also helped me to grow, because a lot of times it's like we have great ideas and stuff of what we want to happen in our community, but don't know how to forget about the need to articulate it from an economic perspective to entice people to invest in your ideas. So that's the part that has been really rewarding for me, is to be able to create, to pitch, and to bring it to fruition by adding that, economic analysis to it, literally with their help. So through all of that, our major programs, like any business improvement districts literally across the world, is clean and safe. Because if it's not clean and it's not safe, then all the other ideas make no sense.
Right.
And so you will find over half of our budget go into that. And then thirdly, that's when we look at marketing and promotion, and then we move into streetscape, the actual physical look of the area. And then our overall arching is real estate development and looking at big picture things like the future. And that basically consists of the people who put in the money, property owners only, and so that's where we focus on that part. So in a nutshell, that's what we do. And the part that makes it work is that because it is a local law, everybody in that district must pay. And if they don't pay, then they're, subject to the same, penalties as when you don't pay your real estate taxes.
Wow. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, and that sounds real good, but that also brings a lot of transparency and oversight issues, which is, so all that sounds real good, but understand there are a lot of people looking at, not just what you do, but the perception of what you do, and also making sure that you're in compliance, since this is an additional tax.
Yeah, and I could understand from some business owners' views of, well, why do I have to do this? I can't just opt in or opt out. But the end result of that is, I guess, what residents and others and tourists who visit reap the harvest of that, along with the business owners, because through those visits to 125th Street, they're reaping the revenue of their visits.
Oh, yes. Our audience is, we cater to those who live, work, visit, and invest. And so with every program that we put out, my staff and myself, we literally sit down and analyze, okay, what comes to the person who lives here, what comes to the person who invests. We try to make sure that we incorporate something from all of those four audiences, which is what makes it work. Because when you're leaving them out, they go somewhere else. So it becomes real critical for you to focus on, who it is that you're serving. And so, we may not get it all right all the time, but the effort to do it right all the time is there.
And I just think you've been really doing some great work. And I know you mentioned who the members are of the not who the members are, but who can be a member. But and I've said how great the work you've been doing is, and part of that is I know that you do I think it's a weekly newsletter, and periodically you talk about those tourism numbers, and I know that those, every time you mention those numbers, they end up going up every year. So what, on 125th Street we have, was it something like 5 million a year, or?
Yeah. Well, we're averaging like about 895,000 people a month on the corner of Frederick Douglass Boulevard. And so how we know it is because we have pedestrian footfall counters on the roof of the building days. And so we've been tracking those numbers for the last 4 years. So and they're in real time. So, it's the part of that's so great is we know how many people are there at the different times of the day. The different times of the day. So it allows the businesses to plan their operations. Like if they know the majority of the people on the street at 1 o'clock, then this is the time that you're supposed to be reaching because that's where the market is. But more importantly, it also helps us in the office to plan our operations to meet those people. The exciting thing for me right now is that we're literally in the process of installing our second camera on Lenox Avenue, where we will capture the data on those four corners, and now we'll be able to do some real analysis and comparisons and start doing some market projections and trends. So, this is going to put us a little bit ahead of the curve now because we can really see what's going on out there.
So, Barbara, Miss Askins, which you prefer, Barbara or Miss Askins?
Barbara. It's like, I'll tell you a joke. I went to a community board meeting, Community Board 9, like last month, and this lady came up to me and she said, I started working with you and you don't talk to me anymore, and I just can't believe you doing that to me. And so I said, that wasn't me. That must have been Ms. Askins. You have to call to Barbara.
It was that Miss Formal Miss Askins. That's the other. That's that body double.
With Barbara. She doesn't act like that.
Right? I like that. I'm going to use that.
This interview, we're going to be Barbara.
Right. Yeah, and those other conversation is that Mr. Tisdale, who's asking those crazy questions and getting off base and everything.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, Barbara. So, is the goal down the line in the future is that every large intersection on 125th Street would have that kind of camera and give you big data?
Well, what we need to do is to see if that's needed. Sometimes,
Gotcha.
You can just calculate the numbers based on what you're finding and then make some projections. If we find that, like I would say off the top of my head, that at some point one will be needed at Fifth Avenue, just because the makeup is different over there. The area is growing. It's not located near a subway. You see where I have it now, it's both near subways. So I could see the third camera probably would be there.
Yeah. So what is the busiest business time of the day on 125th Street? Before you say it, let me guess and see if I can get it right. I would say it's a Saturday afternoon.
Well, interesting enough, it's different during the week versus weekends. So usually during the week, the busiest time is around 12:30 to 2. The numbers just jump up tremendously.
Lunchtime.
Now that's what we're guessing is lunchtime, and so But then Saturday is usually the busiest day. It depending on what's going on at the Apollo. The Apollo. So we look at when there are events, and also depending on whether or not someone like Cameron show up on 125th Street. So it's like so the numbers go, but what that does is it helps us to also understand consumer behavior patterns.
Right. No, I love technology for the very reasons we're talking about, because it gives you these insights that you almost couldn't get any other way than having, the data from people coming into the community. I love it. And I just want our listeners to also know that they're listening to the Danny Tisdale Show on Harlem World Radio. And, of course, I'm the guy, Danny Tisdale, also known as Mr. Tisdale. And you're listening, of course, to the Danny Tisdale Show. And I'm talking to Barbara Askins from the 125th Street BID Business Improvement District. And I want to get right back to just some of the amazing work that's going on, and especially with the bid, and especially the work that you're doing, Barbara. What I wanted to ask you, because a lot of our listeners are executives in their field, or they're managers at the top of their game. They're leaders, legends, and trailblazers also. What tips do you have for, someone who wanted to follow in your footsteps and kind of do the work that you're doing? Any kind of tips, best practices for them, especially as a woman heading an organization that's doing the incredible work that you're doing in the second renaissance for Harlem?
Yeah. Well, I'll share some things that I've learned, because, and particularly from the point of view, I am always cognizant of the fact that I'm spending somebody else's money. And so one of the things that I always do, my fiscal year is from July to June, and I don't wait till the end of the year to have an achievement. I start in July. What am I going to do? What we put together our plan for the year, and before December is over, before we get to December, I have really produced something that I can put into the hands of the people who pay me to do it, that they can see, that they can understand the value of them supporting what we're doing. I never leave it to them to wonder. And anytime my phone starts ringing and they're like, what's going on, that's a hint to me that I'm not communicating enough or I'm not achieving enough.
Gotcha.
So
right.
I do it, with my staff up front. The other thing is, and I shared this was passed on to me by this guy, George Bowman, who worked at Freedom National Bank, and it helped me a lot. He actually helped me to put together the marketing plan for 125th Street. And he said, Barbara, you need to look and you divide everything into must do, should do, and nice to do. And anytime I get nice to do, and I literally have cute little baskets in my office. And when I get overwhelmed with paperwork, I just take it and I start pitching in the basket. Must do, should do, nice do, must do. And literally everything I'm working on, and this is an indication why I'm behind, is the nice to do. Because the nice to do is the fun, cute stuff that makes you feel good and it's exciting. And you get
That's the biggest pile, I bet.
Yes, you get all tied down in that. So now every morning.
Interesting.
It's very interesting. Every morning I call my director of programs up before I get into office and let's go over must do. Let's get over must do. Let's get must do out the way before 125th Street becomes alive, because people forget.
Right.
125th Street is a living street. We have fires. We have people fighting. We have people falling out. We have people emergency. Everything stops working, which is all of this we're managing. So I put major emphasis on must do, because your must do is your operations that will kill you when no one cares about all the work you did if your audit is in late. So we just put must do up front so that we keep everybody happy.
Yeah, and that's I may end up using that tip, because that must do is so important, and like you said, and I'll paraphrase it, no one really cares about all these other things if you haven't done the thing that you said that you would do when it comes to them. Whoever them may be, an advertiser or a reader, they don't want to know that I'm not feeling well and I'm going to be late. They want to know, is that story going to be posted, and is this ad going to be up like it's supposed to be? So, and they're right. That's my job. And I really like the way that you prioritize that. And we're, believe it or not, almost at the last 8 minutes. And I had a question I wanted to ask you, the first half that I'll ask you now, and that is, I don't know if I heard it last year or when, but it stuck with me. And they said that, and I don't remember who they was. For 125th Street, the mission is to be the next 42nd Street. Is that true?
No. And the reason I say no is because, and this is from me as a person who's been working on 125th Street, it really bothers me when I hear people talk about we're going to be the next something else. Harlem that already exists. We have enough resources and creativity and, assets that other people don't have. And so what I try to focus on is us growing and cultivating what we have so that we become something that other people say we the next 125th Street.
Gotcha.
We're not in the mindset of moving to become next 42nd Street. 42nd Street don't have the Apollo Theater. It doesn't have all the history that we have. We need to focus more on that's someone else marketing and branding to create opportunities. You haven't seen any of the papers uptown saying we're going to be the next 42nd Street. And I think that collectively coming together, working together the way we used to do in the old days, we will create that uniqueness that no one else has. And that is a goal of mine.
And I completely agree with you, and I love the passion that you bring to that answer, and emphatically. And, for 2 seconds, I was like, ooh, that's a great idea, the Uptown 42nd Street. But your answer is perfect because it chills that idea. You know what? This is our own. Let's make it our own and define it in our own voice so that it's real and people get it and understand it. And so, like you said, so that people will want to be like Harlem. I mean, they already want to be like Harlem in so many ways, and this is just another way of kind of saying that and doing that. And you bring so much passion, Barbara, to your work at the Bed, and I know it because we talk about, you know, of course, myself being an artist and that you are an artist as a painter. So I'll ask the question this way: how do you unwind from, I know, the hectic days and weeks that you have, you know, being the head of the Bed? Is it being a painter, being an artist?
Well, I do want to talk about, you know, my art, but and I know we're short on time, so I'm going to say this, and then you're going to want to ask me more questions, but this is the true answer. I give my Saturdays to me, so you know I'm sharing with you today.
Thank you, and I appreciate it.
It's for me, and I start off every Saturday morning with my naturopathic doctor. I am a naturopath, and I have an integrative cranial brain therapy. And from there, I go get my hair done, I get my nails done, I come home, I chill out, and then that's when I create and go into that space where, you know, it's just me and the creator, and I allow myself to, you know, become that vehicle to, you know, let what's inside me come out. So, and I don't care if it sells, and I don't care if anybody see it, but it turns out that everybody who do see it seems to like it. But that's what I do.
That's great.
I give my Saturday to me.
And that is so fantastic. And I know we've got 3 minutes left because I say it's fantastic because I love the fact that when I'm in creative mode, time is not of essence at all, and I'm lost in the sauce, and you know, and then voila, the piece is done, and it's like, well, where was I? You know, it's like, oh, yes.
But more importantly, since you said this, being a woman, being a female, being an African American woman, and all those things, when you're in your creative space, it's a space that you have to not hold back on anything.
Right.
It's 100% freedom, and that's a great space. So that's what my art is, and it's like sometimes I feel guilty that I stay there so long because, you know, you have to tell people, don't call me, don't call me.
That's right. And that's exactly what I do.
Yes, and what you're not sharing is that both of us are Leos, so we both have this struggle, and we try to be tough but really, really soft inside.
Right. And I try so hard not to pick that phone up when I know that, you know, there's one more piece that if I do that piece the way it should, because, you know, it feels like an hour, you know, to get that one piece right, but, you know, it could be shorter than that. But, I try to be as disciplined as possible and not pick that phone up. And I'm you know, been doing it for, you know, years, but I'm getting better and better at it because sometimes it's just real hard, you know, to not pick the phone up, and I know it's my sister calling or somebody else, you know. But you're so right.
Surrender. Yeah, you do have to surrender, and as that artist, and you know, because I've been painting for 40 years. Most people don't know that.
Wow.
And so, you know, it's all those little things, all those little pieces. It's not that you can't do it. It's about you and your self-discipline to allow what God gave you to be put on canvas. You know, my mentor said, girlie, you went there, and then you put it on paper. Because you can go there in your head forever, but then putting it on paper becomes the mission.
Yeah, and it's kind of like you were talking about customers, that if I don't do what I should do with my gift and invest in that gift, and I don't do that, then it's my fault for not doing it. And, Barbara, we're at our last 30 seconds, and can you just give the URL for the bid so that people can stay connected with you?
Yes, it's www.125th Street, 125THSTREET.NYC, and download the Harlem Happenings app. It's on Google and iPhone.
Thank you so much, and we will post everything on the post when we post the story. Thank you so much, Barbara. I really appreciate it.
Okay, bye-bye.
And thank you, folks, for listening in and doing such a great job of listening and contributing when you can to the show. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
You're 3,000 feet above the trees in a hot air balloon. Your significant other gets down on one knee and pulls out a box containing a ring. You realize that this is the magic moment you've been looking forward to, because there's never been a better time to test drive the 2019 CLA Coupe at your authorized Mercedes-Benz dealer. With its sleek silhouette, unrivaled performance, and technology, the CLA is your dream ride. Visit MBUSA.com/CLA to learn more. Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing.
Hi, can I park here?
Let's see. Well, sure, sign says 15 minutes permits LG and RK, so maybe...
I'm just going to the AT&T store for a deal that's LA only.
Should have taken a scooter. They're super mindful.
Hi, you parking here?
He's going to the AT&T store for a deal that's LA only.
You didn't take a scooter? They're super mindful.
Are you a Virgo?
Hey, LA, come into an AT&T store and find out how to get a smartphone for free. AT&T, more for your bargain hunter thing. That's our thing. Limited LA offer. See store for details.